What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk of the Tundra, your Green Bay Packers podcast, a proud partner of the Blue Wire family and the Eurostep podcast network. As always, I am your host, Numac, and joining me once again for a comeback victory, a down-to-the-wire victory, is my co-host, Jordan Tresky. Jordan, how are you doing, buddy?
Doing very well, doing very well. This could have been a very different podcast until the final 3 minutes of today.
Yeah,
Today's game against the Saints.
yeah, we were fully prepared to have a solemn podcast for 3.5 quarters there. But alas, Jordan Love and company lead the way to a 18-17 Packers victory in the season opener at Lambeau Field, the biggest such comeback coming back down from 17-0 since the 2018 home opener, I believe. They were selling the broadcast. I think that was against the Bears, correct? Where they were
The
down.
famous Aaron Rodgers, he gets hurt in the first half, gets loaded up with a bunch of whatever drug that is legal for players to get shot
Yep.
up during NFL games. And then, yeah, authors an incredible comeback over the lowly Chicago Bears.
Yep. So the similarities in the tenures of of Rodgers and Love begin to amount to being even more equal than they already were. But regardless, Jordan Love, what a incredible fourth quarter for the now franchise quarterback.
Yeah, the big story of the day. Um, Today just doesn't happen without Jordan Love being. It was I. I'm already tripping over my words. It wasn't a superhuman performance. It was a very ordinary performance in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought the biggest thing about Jordan Love and the Packers as a whole, especially that fourth quarter, is just they figured things out. And it's very boring to just do it, say it like that. But like the way that they're playing for at least offensively, the defense kept them in it. It was a stark difference to how the game against the Falcons was. Um, and obviously not having Alvin Kamara, not having Derek Carr for basically, a half. They were limited in what they could do, but they were still in the driver's seat for pretty much all day until the last 3 minutes. Um, I just thought the resiliency and the problem solving in real time, which is not easy for a young team like this, and especially a fourth year quarterback who this is his fourth NFL start, first home opener as a starter for the Green Bay Packers. That was exciting too. I thought like everything about Jordan Love's day just kind of, I don't know, like it embodied a lot of what we've seen so far and where like this team just sits overall, especially when we'll get to what they didn't have going into the game too.
Right. I think the biggest thing that I was drawing on today was that the last week's game against the Falcons and this week's game against the Saints were practically mirrors of one another. The Packers
Yeah,
played three really good quarters. I guess we'll say two. We'll just lump in the first quarter of last week as a third good quarter, but three good quarters last week against the Falcons, end up blowing it in the fourth. This week, play three pretty god awful quarters of football against the Saints, end up coming back and scoring 18 points in the fourth quarter. So, for all intents and purposes, you can say that they learned from their mistakes last week, but I think it was just a good thing to see them motivated out of the half. And I think Rasul Douglas said it when talking about there was a play that they weren't like solemn coming out of the halftime. This is reporter Cassidy Hill. I think she's a reporter for one of the TV stations up in Green Bay. My apologies for the Journal Sentinel. Reporting that multiple players in the Packers locker room said the halftime was extremely calm. They knew they were being themselves. They just needed a spark, and the spark came with Patrick Taylor's first down pickup towards the end of the third quarter. That's from Rasul Douglas. And they didn't score on that drive. I think that might be the drive where Patrick Taylor ended up not catching what would have been a touchdown pass from Jordan Love. But I think for all intents and purposes, it was just a spark to show that they could hang around if they got stops. Excuse me. Which they ended up having or needing to do and did once Derek Carr went out. Like halfway through that was it halfway through the third quarter, early third quarter.
I can actually bring it up in my notes here. It was off the Rashawn Gary sack, his
Yeah,
second of the day. Uh,
I think
do,
it
do, do, do.
was. I can't seem to find it, but regardless, Jameis Winston comes in and isn't really able to do a whole lot for the team. He had
Early third quarter.
early third quarter, so he wasn't like super bad. Jameis wasn't 10 for 16, 101 yards. Derek Carr went 13 of 18 for 103 yards. So they kind of had the same stuff, but I think what mattered the most was that Jameis Winston wasn't able to make sort of the long throws that Derek Carr was able to sort of drop in there early on in the game. So once they started stopping Jameis Winston from going and driving the field as much as they did, it ended up working out quite well for them because the defense showed up and was really fired up to get those three outs, get off the field, rest a little bit, and then give way to the offense who was making long drives each drive down the field in that fourth quarter. Looking at
Mhm.
their drives, what looks to be late third, early fourth, 6:17, a minute 50, and that was the field goal drive, and then a minute 30, 2.5. So not, I guess not too long, but they were definitely on the field as an offense a lot more than they were as a defense in that second half.
Yeah, I thought like again, Saints were limited. It was going into this game, going into the season, really not having Alvin Kamara was already kind of it factored into the Packers' ability or chances to win this game. And we talked about it a lot on the preview pod, and the focus is a lot about like what the Saints can do defensively, how they can band down the hatches, take away your best players. Their streak of allowing fewer than 20 points a game continues up to 11 now. But their offense clearly left a lot of meat on the bone today. Like, I mean, their only touchdown, or one of their only touchdowns, was a special teams touchdown with Rashid Shaheed taking it all the way for the house or to the house for 76 yards. Yeah, I just felt like offensively they just left a lot on the field. Like
Right.
they made the plays, they were moving the ball. Jameis Winston really, I thought, did well and didn't really have any passes that could have, save for that one pass breakup that Rudy Ford should have caught.
Yeah.
Um,
I on the replay of that I did see his hand got caught in the guy's thigh.
I figured it's one of those things where we're watching on TV that you think he's closer to
Yeah.
on the angle that we have than actually in reality. But Jameis Winston was in relief for Carr was pretty dang good. Like they were moving the ball, they put themselves in a position to win this game. And ultimately, their rookie kicker Blake Groupie, I think that's his name,
Yep.
um, missed a 48-yard field goal, which is not easy, but considering the circumstances, the height, or heightened atmosphere, and everything like that, it's big shoes to fill in terms of delivering a signature win like that
Hmm.
because but not all rookie kickers are built like that. I'll just say.
Not all of them. But I think we put off the main focus of this game long enough, and it's Jordan Love. He absolutely went in and delivered a standout performance early in his young career, but this is the kind of game and kind of resiliency that you needed to see from a young quarterback. Yeah, he didn't play great for three quarters, and we've touched on it as ad nauseum on Twitter and in Discord and just on this podcast. But the injury bug to this team has not been kind of Jordan Love's efficiency between Christian Watson being out and Aaron Jones being out, and then Bakhtiari and Elton Jenkins. Like that's two Pro Bowl slash All Pro level linemen on his blind side out, just not available, and then his biggest deep target and his starting running back. Like throughout all of this, he's still doing the best he can and squeaking out wins where he can. And frankly, it's exciting to see. Like it's there's been a lot of talk about the numbers of Jordan Love lately, and just how none of them really make sense despite him looking good. And I think I think for now it just I'm fine with the numbers looking ugly if he's squeaking out wins. Like I think a lot of this year is going to be graded on a learning curve, but golly, that fourth quarter was one to remember for the ages for sure. Because not even because he played well, because again,
No,
it's not like he really was running and gunning and was really playing the quarterback position well. He was doing all the right things. Like the Packers' best play right now, deep, is throw it deep, have it be underthrown, and get a DPI call to move the ball 40
that's
yards.
their big playability.
That's their big play ability right now without Christian Watson. And so with that, if it works, it works. I'm not saying I would rather see him hit those passes for sure, but if they can threaten that enough to where they're going to make DBs pay for it, why not?
Uh, your point about his fourth quarter performance, I have Ryan Wood's tweet here, X post, whatever you fucking want to call it.
This is sweet.
Thank you. After fourth down incompletion to start fourth quarter, Jordan Love's line on final three drives of the comeback, all scoring drives, by the way. 9 for 18, 131 yards, an average of 7.2 yards per pass. Touchdown, 1 yard touchdown run, 24-yard scramble, 2-point conversion, a 92.59 passer rating. Compare that to his third quarters. He was 13 for 25, 128 yards, 5.12 yards per average per completed pass, interception, and a 50.08 passer rating. Um, yeah, like again, that's not good.
No,
That's
the
not particularly efficient,
yeah,
and that's fine. I Paul Noonan over at Acme Packing Company had a great article over the weekend, maybe even Friday, of breaking down just why Jordan Love's advanced metrics, even just his completion percentage or CPOE, which again I'm completion expected completion percentage, stuff like that,
yep,
um, were so different, or like these are like very stark numbers of like why is it the way it is, you know what I mean? And he broke it down why in terms of contextual things, like not having top tier weapons, or the throws that he's making or not making in this case. And again, we saw that all today. Like I thought a lot of it, maybe I'm seeing this with the love colored glasses, I guess, but I thought a lot of it were the receivers that he's throwing to. Um, that Patrick Taylor fourth down, or was that fourth down? I think it was fourth down. Um, you're muted.
the one where it was incomplete.
Yeah,
It
he
was
did like he got to the first down marker and just stopped.
yeah, that was a
And
fourth.
Love kind
Yeah,
of,
it was a fourth down.
yeah, and I thought that was just kind of like the the ultimate, like, indicative of Love having an idea of what his receiver should be doing. His receiver, not a receiver, and not a Packers first string guy, because a lot of these guys are hurt.
Right.
It was just not there, and it plagued them for the first three quarters. And we saw deep shots. We saw um, even just kind of the trick play on the first drive. That was another fourth down that, like, yeah, we want you to go for it. What are you doing? Why are you doing this weird flea flicker across the field? He slips under his own feet because the field was incredibly slick today. It was stuff like that that was just so self-inflicted. That's not even getting into all the offensive penalties that they had throughout the day. And just to get to the point where, okay, you're just putting together drives where it should have been happening all game long, because they were getting deep into the field,
Hmm.
but they were shooting themselves out of it, even if it was just field goal range. And finally putting these drives together and just picking on guys, like, there are things that Jordan Love did today that when they were making their comeback, that was like, that you see what he can be, and it's just a matter of putting inconsistency in, among a lot of other things that have to go right with this Packers team at this moment. But yeah, like, if you look at what he did in the fourth quarter, it's not like you're fawning over just like Aaron Rodgers level efficiency. No, it's
Hmm.
not. It's further from that. But it's still, they won the damn game, and that ultimately matters.
Yeah, he ultimately made the throws that he made, and it led to winning football. Frankly,
Mm-hmm.
excuse me. A few tweets from Ryan Wood doing some great reporting on Jordan Love and what his teammates said about him post game. I want to preface this with the fact that we heard a lot of this last year before he was even playing and getting reps as a quarterback. Devondre Campbell talked a lot about him last year. So did Aaron Jones. Like, I think there was a lot of talk last year that was quite encouraging that kind of led to this moment. So I got 4 tweets, so it's gonna be a lot of me for a couple seconds here. So bear with me. All these are from Ryan Wood. This first one is from Elton Jenkins, who, despite not playing today, did stick around by his locker to talk to the media. This is all about Jordan Love. Quote, just him and the resiliency just to come out there at down 17 going into the fourth. The ultimate downs. He didn't blink. He just goes out there and do what he do. Offense rallies around him. Defense does what they do. It was a special, special performance now. We always knew that he had it, things like that. But just him being able to go out there and just put it together live for everybody in his first game at Lambeau, it's just special. It's just special. So, really cool from EJ having protected Aaron Rodgers first and foremost, and then now going back to Jordan Love. Like, the sentiment is going to stay consistent throughout all these quotes. This next one's from Kenny Clark. Quote, Jordan is cool, man. He's cool. I don't know if it's a Cali thing. He's just calm and cool in every situation. It don't matter if it's good or bad. He's never too high, never too low. He's just constantly working, constantly chopping wood, and you saw that today. You saw it today in that fourth quarter. He made a lot of plays. Loved the play where he got out and scrambled and stayed in bounds and got extra yardage. We knew it was right over there. We knew it was over right there. He battles. He's a fighter. He's resilient. That's just awesome to see. God, I love Kenny Clark. He's so cool. This one is from Preston Smith. Quote, we've been believing in Buddy Love, as I call him. He's been playing at a high level, man.
I love that.
Buddy Love.
Buddy Professor.
We we know what he can do, and we know as long as we have him, as long as we have his back and we stay consistent, he can keep us in any game, and we can win any game with him as our quarterback. We know he has a lot of ability. He can make throws. You see he can run. Sometimes he lowers his shoulder. Sometimes he makes a man miss. He'll hit him with an okey doke, and that switches it up. Jordan Love has a lot of ability to win games in this league. A lot of games. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, is Josh Myers. Asked about what he learned about Jordan Love. He pauses, quote, nothing that I didn't already know now that I think about it. I don't know. Maybe he needed to prove that to himself today, but all I saw today was what I saw the past couple years out of him. So, with all that being said, I think it's quite notable that there was two on offense, two on defense, just in the ones that I had seen, the ones that were sort of being widely circulated around Packers Twitter. But this is a team that may be young, but I think they have one of the stronger chemistries in the probably in the league right now for a team as young as they are. They seem to be quite tight knit, and these are the types of characteristics that will help them win football games like today. Going back to like when Razul said that they just needed a spark, the spark coming from Patrick Taylor is probably not the least expected place for it to come from, but you think your fourth string running back isn't the guy that you're typically going to get a spark from, or that if he provides a spark, one that the team will respond to in order to get going. You know what I mean? Because like it Razul needed to see that happen and be inspired by it to go out and play better, like the rest of the defense did in the fourth quarter. So I just think that what they may lack in skill and age and just general experience is made up for by just being 53 guys that believe in one another that can go out there and win any game that they're in.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing it with 3 weeks into the season now. We're seeing we don't have to look at to a team that we haven't been all that familiar with to going into the year. The New York Jets, and seeing them lose their quarterback and circumstances change, they go back to the guy that Aaron Rodgers replaced in Zach Wilson, and it's just performance is not meeting expectations, regardless if it's Aaron Rodgers or Zach Wilson or whatever. And Chicago, we're seeing everything just combust around them when they were expecting to make waves this year, whether that was foolish errand or not. Um, I think that belief in that they can do something and knowing that, yes, they are not the same team as they used to be. They obviously will never be because they are just the makeup of this roster is incredibly young, inexperienced. And the only way that you do those things and gather or gain experience is by playing. And that is best shown in having a new quarterback under center. Jordan Love, you know, I think for us, it's a different kind of, it's certainly very different than what we have been used to in terms of just overall demeanor. And he's not as forthcoming with other things or soaking up the limelight. Maybe that comes with time because, God knows quarterbacks are going to be the focus of everybody's attention. Um, but I think for all the things about doing the work, doing the little things, it adds up over the 3 years that you are the backup to Aaron Rodgers. And yeah, you may only complete 50% of your passes, and your offense may sputter out for drives on drives on drives for 3 quarters. But they didn't fold. They again they figured out their problems in real time. They did the best with what they can do. It could certainly be a lot better. And there are things that certainly have to get remedied and fixed with a team that is this young, as we will get into a little bit later. But when it's Jordan Love driving the train and most of all feels like he's ready to drive the train, you know what I mean? Conduct the train, I should say. um, I think that alone kind of it feeds it. I'm not comparing myself to an NFL player or anything like that, but like going back to playing with someone or intramurals or whatever, like you feed off of what you have around you and what someone saying, "Hey, we got this," even if you're down 15-3 or
Right.
whatever.
Exactly. Like it's just the human aspect of all of it. And I
Mm-hmm.
think they did quite well with that today. And I excuse me. That the crowd at Lambeau is rocking today for sure. Once in that
Yes,
fourth quarter, like
once they got it together.
once they got it together, um, yeah, it was good to see them come alive in the fourth quarter because I think they definitely needed it for sure.
Yeah,
So, Jordan Love, 22 of 44, 259, touchdown, interception, and a rushing touchdown as well. Was their leading rusher, 39 yards on 9 carries. AJ Dillon, 11 carries, 33 yards. Excuse me. Mediocre day from him again as well.
very.
Yeah, the rushing game just needs Aaron Jones. Plain simple. Like, I'm not really sure there's really that much other analysts or analysis to go with it. They just need Aaron Jones because I don't think AJ Dillon is ready to be that bell cow back, and I'm
And
not.
I think more as we talked about during the game again. I'm going to steal Numac's thing. Join the GSP Discord. It's fun, even when the Packers are getting just walloped, and you think that the home opener couldn't have gone any worse before it got a lot better. Um, it wasn't just the fact that AJ Dillon just played poorly, and he had a couple explosive plays, but that was it. They stopped putting him out there. Patrick Taylor was out there
Yeah,
for like large portions of drives when they were starting to make their comeback. That spoke volumes.
yeah,
And again, the line did get it got a lot there today. We already were without Bakhtiari and Elton Jenkins. Zach Tom apparently got hurt, which was news to me like an hour after the game, and I was like, "What? Where? When did he get hurt?" So that's another thing to monitor and going into a short week. But what it doesn't matter who's on that line. They cannot block for AJ Dillon, and AJ Dillon is just he's. I don't know where to begin with AJ Dillon. I don't know if we can begin with AJ Dillon because there's not much to say. He's just
right,
not a very productive player, and that it's hard to make any excuses for him when this is just what we see week after week. And maybe that changes. I'm not saying that people are incapable of changing their performance, but it's like how many more chances can we give him, man?
right. No, I totally agree with you there. It's definitely tough to gauge what AJ Dillon's worth is right now because
Yeah.
it's when I think you put it pretty simply. When Patrick Taylor's out there on the like in the fourth quarter, being the guy, and not AJ
Yeah.
Dillon, I think it's pretty crucial. I think it also has a lot to do with the fact that Patrick Taylor has some pretty nice hands, and was
He
like
certainly
making
made
plays
plays.
right exactly. And so who knows what the future holds for AJ Dillon throughout the rest of the season, but it just it wasn't the most inspiring 2 weeks from AJ Dillon when hopefully for the team's sake, Aaron Jones comes back and is playing Thursday against the Lions. So
Yeah.
hopefully maybe that's just his role. He's not meant to be a 11, 12 carry guy. Just meant to get those short yardage gains, but we saw that last week. Wasn't doing good doing good at that either. So I guess TBD on AJ Dillon,
Yeah.
but I think part of the skepticism for me too is that I wish that they would give, if they're not going to give it to AJ Dillon, they should have just ran Patrick Taylor and Emmanuel Wilson more this game. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
Emmanuel Wilson had 2 carries for 6 yards, so nothing crucial. But if they're not going to like put AJ Dillon out there, I'd rather them make a point to then play Taylor and Wilson.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing is that, and Patrick Taylor too. Now this is 3 straight games where he's been elevated from the practice squad.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to make a decision on whether he's going to be on the 53-man roster, which I would imagine that he is
Well, I'd
going to.
imagine. Well, yeah, they don't need a. It's his next call up.
Yes, next call up. Yes.
So
So for the Lions game,
yeah, if they keep him down, that's fine. He can still be on the practice squad.
yeah,
But I'd imagine, frankly, that they're going to.
it, I would probably think Dean Anderson.
Yeah, he's probably going down or getting cut. So
Yeah.
either which way. We have a special guy to talk about on defense we haven't talked about yet. It's been 26 minutes, and we haven't talked about one of the most impactful players of the game, and that is Rashawn Gary. Rashawn Gary, absolutely making himself some money. I saw a tweet the other week. I forget who it was from, but every passing day that the Packers don't sign Rashawn Gary to an extension, the more expensive it becomes, because he is kicking ass and taking names. He had 3 total tackles, and they were all sacks. Excuse me. Just a crazy, crazy day for Rashawn Gary. Um, I'm trying to see the yardage on his sacks, but I can't find them, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. But yeah, for Rashawn Gary, I'm not sure he's officially off of his snap count, but it felt like every critical third down play that happened in this game, Rashawn Gary was in there making an impact play where it really, really mattered, and he was really, really needed.
Yeah, he was the one that injured Derek Carr for what it's worth. Um, but your words about you're not sure if he's still on his snap count. He is. He's still on his snap count, and he had a 3-sack game.
Crazy,
Yeah,
simply crazy.
dominant does not put it to words because it just was that effective in terms of limiting the Saints. Again, they were able to make plays, they were able to move the ball, but the 3 and outs that they had consistently over the second half were chalked up to Rashawn Gary just getting going supernova and getting home and sacking Derek Carr and Jameis Winston. Yeah, the guy's a monster. It's crazy that he can do these performances. And maybe it's helping that he's still on the snap count where he can just go all in on, focusing on every play I could just disrupt and wreak havoc and all that stuff. The guy is just insane. And just imagine when he's fully healthy. Like the thing too about this game is, coming out the Falcons loss, and we saw the run defense which was a lot better today, but again, the caveat is, you're not facing a Bijan Robinson. But they had guys disrupt plays, and Kenny Clark also had a sack too, which, to start the first drive for the Saints. But it was really Gary that kind of all throughout the game, especially in the second half, that was the Packers' lifeline. It's like, well, the Saints still have 17 on the board. You're not, you're limiting damage that way. It's just in order to make up ground. And Rashawn Gary was the biggest factor in terms of limiting what the Saints can do in that end.
Right. Going into this week, Rashawn Gary had 8 pressures. Hasn't been updated for this week yet, but he had 1 sack. And I'd assume he'd have a good amount of pressures, probably close to 8 this game, just from those 3 sacks alone. But um, if he keeps playing like this and can maintain this level of play throughout the season, I think he'll be pretty high up in Defensive Player of the Year rankings and like voting at the end of the year. He's playing absolutely out of his mind, and if he can stay healthy and just be that dominant when it comes to pure edge rush play and getting home to the quarterback, I think he would be quite willingly to deserve it, honestly, because those sacks came at such crucial points in the game that it doesn't like you can't put it into words how important those sacks were. Um, the one in the early third quarter that where Derek Carr got hurt, that was on 3rd and 9. Looking through Jordan's notes here, the other one was in the after the Anders Carlson field goal with 11 minutes left in the fourth. That was the ensuing drive after that field goal on a 1st and 14. So just two right there that were pretty critical when it came to flow of the game. Essentially, he had
Hmm.
one in the second quarter as well. So just really, really great play by Rashawn Gary today. Let's see here. Jaden Reed. Want to talk about Jaden Reed a little bit?
Yes.
Up and down game from him. Nope, did not lead. 63 yards, 3 receptions. I feel like, how should I put this? Jaden Reed is the gif of Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck pulling away the sheets that say, we're so back, or it's over and we're so back and forth for like eternity because it's a gif. It's just that with Jaden Reed. Because like every time Jaden Reed makes a great play, it's like, wow, he is going to be a great receiver and just all about it. And then you look at his line today, 7 targets, 3 receptions. A few of those were drops. Like at least 2 of them were drops. And it's just like, just catch the ball. I beg of you, please just catch the ball. And that's the rookie side of it all. But other than that, he's just a dynamic player, dude. He's got the goods. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was certainly a 50-50 day in terms of like, you're doing great, kid, honey, or that kind of thing. And then it's like, no, what are you doing? Like, just like, it was all or nothing. The drops were certainly concerning. You could probably, if you really break it down, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Packer aficionados that will go through the film and kind of chalk up what they think if it was on Reed or if it was on Love and stuff like that. Point is, guy has drops, and it hampered the Packers offense to continue, for much of the game. And then, he hauls in that 30-yard catch on the final drive. And it's like that redeems like all the misses and drops that you had. And there's certainly something there. But yeah, he has to get better, with his catch radius, being able to make plays like on the move or like, just, at different angles and everything like that, because, he has the workload of a number 1 or number 2, especially without Watson. So he's going to have more looks and they're all there. It's just a matter of, executing better. And, but yeah, again, when it mattered the most, he came up big, and that does speak volumes to what his day was like.
Yeah, for sure. Dante Van Wicks, 4 catches, 45 yards. He's gonna be good, dude. He's just gonna be good. That's all there is to it. Not a lot of Malik Heath left today. Only 2 targets. Not that we should talk about Malik Heath, but like I want to see him have a good game because I think it'll be really exciting when he does. So that ends Malik Heath talk for this episode. Romeo Dobbs, 5 catches, 73 yards, a touchdown, doing everything he
12
can.
targets, by the way.
12 targets. He's getting the Devontae Adams treatment right now, where Love's just looking his way every time he can, frankly. For what it's worth, like just there when you need it, there when you need him kind of guy right now, making the catches at the most important times. And I think a lot of the targets and misses are chalked up to tough defense and just poor throws for what it's worth. Like I don't think this is a Romeo Dobbs problem, but yeah, he played well today and had that obviously clutch catch in the fourth quarter to seal the game.
Yeah, I thought I was going into this game. I was very worried about Marshawn Lattimore just blanketing him, and we saw a lot of other Saints cornerbacks blanket Packers wide receivers. Um, it was when they were starting to move him around the field and find the advantageous matchups. Almonte Taylor had a really good game for the first three quarters, and then even the plays that like Dobbs made, like insane grabs, like the coverage is there. It
Right.
was just a better ball and all that stuff, and that is football. But Isaac Yodom,
Yep.
I forget how to say his name. Doesn't matter. He used to be a Packer. Got picked on relentlessly. There was this crazy NFL next gen stats um, of thing of like he had nine. Here, let me pull this up so I can actually attribute it the right way. Um, 7 targets. Uh, mo- sorry, NFL Next Gen Stats. This is their Twitter account. Isaac Yadam forced the most tight window targets in a game over the last 2 seasons. There were 7. His teammate Alontae Taylor also had 5 tight window targets today. Um, they allowed a combined 5 receptions on 18 targets and recorded 9 total passes defense or pass breakups.
Yep.
The Saints defensive backs were really good today and really showed out. It made it a lot harder for Jordan Love to throw the or complete passes in tight windows and everything like that. And eventually, it just didn't matter. They made plays, and Romeo Dobbs is the biggest beneficiary of that when he scores the game winning touchdown. But yeah, Dobbs, I think that was the kind of game that I think both of us had a feeling that he could do, especially when we're debating who's going to be the Packers lead receiver going in the year. Well, if Christian Watson doesn't play games, it's going to be Romeo Dobbs by default.
Mm-hmm.
And it's clear that like he is. It's going to be him and Love and just the chemistry that they have, especially in the red zone. Like, there's a lot of things that Love can get corrected on with his performance. That guy is dealing when they get that far into down the field, and that's a good like if nothing else right now that you can say like, oh, like his performance is not perfect. You look at his stats in the red zone and it's really good right now. And the Packers are one of the best red zone offenses in the league after or through 3 weeks. And Romeo Dobbs and Jordan Love are a big part of that.
Right. Yeah, I definitely think that Christian Watson needs to play for this offense to be get kicked into gear a little bit, and that
Yes.
like I like throughout the rest of the season, I don't think they'll be able to rely on this receiving core as much as they have had so far. Not relied on as if they've been the highlight, but the need for Christian Watson is definitely there. Even though Dobbs and company are picking up the slack as best they can
Yeah.
in these early 3 weeks. So hopefully he can go on Thursday. That'd be pretty important. So should we go talk about the bad? Because there's 3/4 of bad to talk about here.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of bad. I got numbers.
Excuse me. I think first and foremost, we should get like the easy stuff out of the way. Penalties. A lot of penalties today. I'm trying to find the exact.
I got it right now.
Go ahead.
Uh 11 penalties for 90 penalty yards. The Saints actually outdrew or out yarded, if that's a word, the Packers in penalty yards. That is singularly because of that one pass interference call late, or the couple pass interference calls late by the Saints secondary. But yeah, a lot of false starts, couple holdings. A lot of them happened on third down too, which were drive killers. Like
Yep.
it was just very frustrating.
Very sloppy.
And very sloppy. And this is like it's stuff like there was a couple like an illegal formation, which is attributed to the tackle, um, but it was also in line with where the wide receivers lined up. Like it's stuff like that like that cannot happen.
No.
It's that simple.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think the biggest thing was, sure, this team is young, this team is inexperienced, like they're gonna have troubles, and maybe penalties are just like some part of that. The difference is that like a lot of these penalties weren't on the young kids. Like a lot of them were just like on like pseudo veterans or things like that. And like in the I think it's the first quarter, like John Runyon, holding, yeah, holding in the first quarter. Royce Newman, false start. Trying to go through a couple more as I see him. I'm going through the box score, but Jaden Reed got offensive holding. That's fine. He's a rookie. Like that'll happen. Then they go formation on, looks like
I
Pat.
believe that. I think it was
They
with
don't they
Rasheed
don't they don't give a
Walker.
person. Yeah, maybe it doesn't give a formation in the play-by-play, but
Yeah,
it's just like these are ticky tack penalties that are just drive killers. Like,
Luke Musgrave a false start on 3rd and 9,
yep,
and then that the next play was the interception that Love threw today.
right,
Like it's stuff like that that like just pin the Packers even like it could not have gone worse, and then they just do these self-inflicted errors that like just made things just that much more insurmountable in some ways.
right, exactly. Like it's just it's sloppy work and from guys that shouldn't be getting penalties, and
Yeah.
you have to wonder between that and just the slow start that the team had today. Like, what can Matt LaFleur do in like during the week differently to make sure that these guys are ready to go?
Yeah.
Because like last week, like they haven't really had fast starts. They the week one against the Bears, they had the short field in which they go get a touchdown right away, and then they kind of I don't want to say like slouched for a quarter, but they didn't really do a whole lot in that second quarter. If you remember, they had the touchdown and then 3 points second quarter, so it was 10-6 at halftime, and then they went on their rampage in the second half. But then last week against the Falcons, they had no points in the first quarter. They were down 3-0 at one point, and then scored 10 in the second quarter, 14 in the third. So like if we could just get the offense going a little sooner, which is when you have your plays scheduled and everything too. Like you think you had a week to prep for this game, that your scheduled first 25 plays or so would be getting more, like would be yielding more success than they are essentially, and not being so coming out so flat-footed, if you will. And so I think that is something that definitely needs to be improved upon this season, just to have confidence in Matt LaFleur. Like I still think Matt LaFleur is a good coach. I still think that he'll be the coach for another couple of years at the least. But a lot of where the gripes come in with Matt LaFleur is like adjustments, game readiness, and just abilities to get guys up for games, because they do come out flat often.
Yeah. I think that's very valid. I think we saw a little bit of everything. The coming out of the game flat, defense was not flat, but the offense was, and just having guys in the right places at the right time. There's a balance. You don't have to be the NFL coaches of old of carry a big stick and just yelling at players constantly up and down the sidelines. But at the same time, you kind of need to bring that out, and it's not it, in ways that aren't reactive. It's being proactive. That is the sign of a really good coach of like, hey, you guys are taking too long on drives or whatever. Like it kind of flipped from how it was last week, where the defense would be making kind of like, what are you doing? That kind of stuff like that. And then offense this week was certainly that to a T. The adjustments, I thought, again, they needed adjustments just to flip the game completely on its head. But it's still, it's the two sides of the same coin, where it's like, you need all the adjustments to win the game, but you also need to do it because you guys have been, weren't being able to do anything offensively. And again, the defense did everything in its power to keep things within reach and, keep it a 2-score to 3-score game. Yeah, I think that's my biggest gripe, is that like LaFleur, like we saw the best of both worlds of adjusting to making the right kind of offensive plays and putting guys in the right positions to succeed. Jordan Love, namely, being that guy. And then we saw the inverse of just boneheaded plays and it's always at the worst time. That's part of the thing too, is that when it's coming down to critical plays, we're talking about third downs, plays that will extend drives, and or fourth downs where, yeah, I'm not going to pin LaFleur on the trick play on the first drive, but like these things are good in theory, but are they well drilled and well practiced enough to kind of like, let's get this down to a T? And maybe if they were healthy, that wouldn't be as much of a question, but like you still play with the guys that you have to play with. And it's still not completely there. And that is something, the kid gloves are off at this point. He has a lot of leash moving forward, especially with a young team. But with that, you get to reimagine the team and what you want it to be moving forward. And just point blank, if you think you are going to be a Super Bowl team in the next couple of years, you have to instill a lot more discipline in this team. And that's going to be the biggest thing to really develop these guys going forward.
Yeah, they just need to be a cleaner team. Like this week in general, and then going back to last week when the special teams unit was late getting out for the field goal. Like this is stuff that should have been drilled on in practice. Like you practice how you play and play how you practice. You really should just be focused as a special teams unit between Rich Bisaccia and Matt LaFleur, telling the guys, okay, fourth down, field goal unit, get out there, go. That should be it every time. There shouldn't be a delayed game on a kick. Like the team should have the awareness to know where they're at in the game. Of okay, if it's fourth down here and they get this many yards, I'm probably going in and kick a field goal. It's just the awareness that the team should have, and that obviously was lacking on that specific play last week against the Falcons. But it's like the trend of these things, right? Having veterans have dumb penalties, having rookies who, despite being rookies, like they still have played football for a very long time, and the only system they know is this system. Having a false start here and there is understandable, but on a third down, it's like you just need that focus, and I think that's something that maybe that the coaching needs to instill in them more rather than just blame it on rookies being rookies, because I think that's a cop out, frankly, given that the rest of the work we have to look at the first 3 games of the season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trying to think of anything else we got to talk about, Jordan. Talk about the run game, and it's not very good.
Run game was not very good. Shout out to Luke Musgrave. I compare him to always running on skates, but guy had a good game.
Yeah.
I think he finished with 6 catches. Let me pull up the box score right now. 6 catches, 49 yards. Longest catch was 12 yards and 8 targets. Him and Love definitely have a connection, and I just think he's a better route runner when it's these 5-yard gains and just getting hopefully first downs and stuff like that. He and Love are not necessarily on the same page when it goes down further in the field. There was a target early in the game that frustrated the hell out of me, which again, I'm not going to argue if it was on Love or if it was on Musgrave. The point was Luke Musgrave, when he gets out in the open field, he stops running and just is like, throw the ball to me kind of thing. And it's like, no, guys, go further. Like Jordan Love is we saw multiple times today, leading the ball into where he wants it to go. And, that still has to get improved on. But his best performance as an NFL player, and, it showed up when the offense really needed signs of life. And that's not nothing.
So I was listening to the game on the radio for that play. Yes. Was that a Luke Musgrave problem, or was that a Jordan Love problem? Because from what I heard Wayne Larrabee say, is that it was Luke Musgrave wide open between the hashes down the middle, and that Love overthrew him. That's what it was explained to me.
I would agree that it was overthrown. I would also say Luke Musgrave stopped his route, much like the Bears game where it was like that jailbreak play.
Got it.
And he's standing wide open, and he's like, throw it to me. And Jordan Love is like, keep moving so you can score a touchdown. That kind of thing.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, just learn to run your routes, bud. You'll get there.
Yeah.
Learn to run.
Learn to run. Learn to have balance when you run, because that is another problem.
Yeah.
But again, he's a rookie, and, I think expectations of him being like this Rob Gronkowski coming out of college I think we tempered them a little bit.
Yeah, definitely tempered for the time being. Uh, excuse me. Injuries, man. Hoping Zach Tom can be ready to go on Thursday, knowing the Packers' sort of mantra this season when it comes to injuries. Apparently, we might not
Yeah,
see Zach Tom. Hopefully we see David Bakhtiari. Hopefully we see Aaron Jones. Hopefully we see Jair. Hopefully we see Christian Watson. Like Thursday's gonna be a big game. We'll preview it this week before the game on Thursday, but it'll be an interesting one this week for the pseudo lead in the NFC North right now. Lions and Packers both 2-1. Both arguably should be 3-0. So two good teams going at it. They'll need to be on their game because excuse me, the Lions defense is no slouch this year, and that offense is playing pretty well. They won today, 20-6 over those same Falcons we lost to last week,
yes.
stopping Bijan Robinson and everything. Bijan Robinson only 33 yards on the ground, only 60 yards total on the day against that Lions defense. So we shall see. But
Other injuries. Devondre Campbell left
yep,
with an ankle injury.
it's just
Um,
it's just so bad injury wise now, dude.
Carrington Valentine, the starting cornerback in place of Jair Alexander, left with a biceps injury. Again, missed that, but coming out of halftime, he was already declared out. Yeah, it's getting thin. It's getting really thin. And sure, week doesn't help. I would certainly love to have some reinforcements. And hopefully not all the injuries that we saw today will be serious enough that guys miss multiple games. I would imagine Tom, Campbell, Valentine, if not all three, two of the three are probably going to miss Thursday. But they have an early bye week, and Packers might be limping towards that bye week.
Yeah.
God, hopefully not, but it's not great. It's not great in terms of just the long term health of this team getting through the season.
No, I think it definitely helps that they have this long week going into um like the long break between the Lions and the Raiders game because they go Lions on Thursday and they play Monday night against the Raiders, so they get an extra day off when they
Yep.
go out to Vegas, and then it's their bye week. But before they go out to Denver, so they have what usually is they have an 11-day break. I think that is from Thursday to Monday,
Yep.
and then 2 weeks off for the Broncos game. So hopefully they can get a lot of rest between then and come back versus the Broncos pretty healthy and then be ready for a tough little stretch against the Broncos, Vikings, Rams, and Steelers.
And that Broncos team just got
Dumped on.
70 points.
Dumped on.
Kevin James, the coach there, he's gonna
You mean
really
the King of Queens?
no. He was, remember, he played Sean Payton played Kevin James in the Netflix movie.
I did not know that.
I'm joking. It was Kevin James that played Sean Payton.
Well, yeah.
I was trying to make
I didn't
that
know.
joke.
I didn't know the vice versa either.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
Well then,
Also, I want to touch on Rashid Shaheed. That punt return was a goner from the moment that he started running.
yeah, you had him as your impact player this week.
I
and,
did. I did. I'm not
don't-
trying to gloat.
I don't think he hurt you in the way you thought he would hurt you this week, but he definitely hurt the Packers in the way that was definitely critical. Like I said, I was driving during this, and I'm just watching it now. Yeah, there was no shot.
No shot. The worst. There was a guy on the team on that coverage that I was like, "Who the hell is that guy?" Number 42. I don't know who that is. I don't know if that's a log snapper or what. But yeah, the way that he was, the lanes that he saw were just like, it was like saloon doors to
Yeah.
getting to the end zone. It was insane.
Yeah, untouched.
Untouched. So yeah, that was almost inexcusable. That really it made it a 14-0 game, but it was like, oh, this is
It felt like
freaking
28-0.
unbearable. Well, oh yes, 100%. And yeah, oh Jesus.
Anything else, Jordan? Or should we wrap up?
No, I think that's it. I think
Perfect.
we're talking about Packers win, and ultimately, we got there.
A win's a win's a win.
Hmm.
So, all right, folks, that does it for us. As always, you guys sit through some promotions, but you don't want to sit through them. You want to learn. You want to be so enshrined in everything Wisconsin sports news that you're gonna love this next 2 minutes. Uh, the Brewers, I believe, did not clinch their division. They did not win
They have
today,
not.
and then the Cubs won both of their games, right? So
Yes.
the Brewers have clinched a playoff spot, but have not clinched the series or the division. So you can check out Cruising for a Bruising with Andrew and Adam in your feeds probably this afternoon as you're listening to this on Monday morning as they recap the Brewers series against the Marlins as they head into, I believe, the last three series. They have won, and then I forget, who are they playing next? It's slipped my mind.
I know the Cubs are next weekend.
Well, yeah, the Cubs are next weekend, and then the Cardinals before that. But I'm not sure. Is there really only two
So
series
that,
left?
yeah, it might be actually.
Might be.
Yeah, it's Cardinals,
Yeah, Cardinals and Cubs.
Cardinals and Cubs.
There you go. So,
Last week of baseball,
oh
regular season
boy,
baseball.
regular season baseball. Brewers officially in the postseason now. So go check out Cruising for a Bruising with Adam and Andrew over on the Cruising for a Bruising feed. They'll be with you all throughout the playoffs as the Brewers look to make their run. Go check out Ty's interview with Wisconsin head coach Bino. I'm going to say it wrong again. Jordan
Udre.
Udre, uh, the new Wisconsin Herd head coach, and then also go back and listen to their preview of the NBA divisions, part one of the Atlantic and Northwest divisions. I believe they have another one coming out Monday morning as well. So you're getting a lot of GSPN content this morning, folks. Hope you're ready for it. And then go check out Make Time for This. Um, any sort of movie you want to watch, you can go back in their catalog and check it out. So Adam and Andrew host that one as well. So GSPN info, you can find all of it there. You can find me on Twitter at Numac is known. You can find Jordan on Twitter at Jordan Tresky, at Watch GSPN on the TikTok and the Instagram for all of our social ads and things like that. Join the Discord for all things Wisconsin sports and other random stuff we talk about in there throughout these seasons. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much for listening and joining us on a Packers 2-1, or as the Packers move to 2-1 on an 18-17 victory over the Saints. We appreciate you listening, and Jordan, thank you.
Thank you.